In this tutorial, I'm really excited to show you how to paint these fun watercolor snowflakes. I'll teach you a simple and easy method for drawing unique snowflake shapes, tips for creating balanced compositions, and how to use masking fluid to create a quick and really easy negative painting effect. This is a really playful and relaxing process that yields stunning results. And peeling up the masking fluid at the end and the reveal that you get it's so satisfying. All right, let's get started. For this painting, I'm not using anything fancy, just this budget-friendly Strathmore watercolor paper. You're welcome to use whatever watercolor paper you want. I just find that I am more creatively daring and bold when I use more budget-friendly supplies. I'm also going to cut this piece of paper in half because I want a little bit smaller of a canvas. You'll also want to be sure to tape your paper down because we're going to throw a lot of water at this, and if you don't tape it down, the sides can warp up and then you'll get some unwanted puddling at the bottom. All right, let's jump into it. The first step is I'm going to lay down a really light wash on the paper. Don't worry about it being perfect or smooth or having a great easy transition. We're going to be covering this up anyways, and the only part that you're going to be able to see is the little slivers of the snowflake. After your wash has completely dried, I am going to come back in with this little circle stencil that I have and draw some base circle shapes that are going to be my snowflakes eventually. And this is a good way to get an idea of a layout and composition. If you don't have a circle stencil like this, I guarantee you have some type of lid, or you could use a glass, or maybe you could use your tape, trace the inside and outside of your tape. There are circles all over the place that you could trace. A couple tips on composition. The first thing that you're gonna wanna avoid is placing your circles evenly throughout your canvas. Our brains like order, and we tend to place things in even positions across the canvas. Try and resist the urge to not have everything be placed and spaced evenly, and instead have them be random and sporadic. Another composition tip is when you're drawing your circles, try not to stack them on top of each other or directly across from each other, because when you're drawing your snowflakes in, this will create leading lines that will lead your viewer's eye out of the composition. And we want to keep our viewer's eye darting around and dancing around your composition, just circling around it constantly. They can't look away. Now I'm just placing these crosshair lines on my circles. These are going to act as my guides for constructing my snowflake. I'm not going to sketch in all the details of my snowflake. I'm just going to use these crosshairs as a basic general guide. If you're not good at drawing snowflakes, no worries. I have broken this down into some really simple snowflake drawing steps. Basically, a snowflake is just a decorated circle, and you've already done most of the heavy lifting by placing your circles about with crosshairs. From here, all you need to do is use your imagination or look up some references and decorate these lines. You could do loopy shapes, you could do hearts, you could do dots, you could do these little V's that look like the end of an arrow. Honestly, this is the most meditative process where you just get to have fun and imagine what your snowflakes would look like. For me, I found the simpler is a lot stronger, so don't overcomplicate things and just have fun and play around. All right, now we are going to paint our snowflakes, but we're not going to paint them with watercolor. We're going to paint them with masking fluid. So we can use this negative painting effect. And if you don't know what negative painting is, it's essentially painting the negative space around your subject to eventually reveal your subject. But the problem with negative painting is you have to be very precise, and it takes a long time, and you have to be constantly thinking about the placement of things. Masking fluid is kind of a hack to negative painting where you can paint your subject, snowflakes, and then just lay down a wash and not worry about painting inside your snowflakes because they'll be protected by the masking fluid. To paint in your snowflakes with masking fluid, you'll need a couple tools. I'm using this old paintbrush that I have that I don't mind if I mess up, and this little rubber nib thing that I got. I also am using some Pebeo, I don't know how to say it, some masking fluid. And I started out using the paintbrush, and this yielded me like really clean lines. So if you like a more thin, clean lined look, I would use a paintbrush. But I wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling this when I started my second snowflake. I wanted something really more messy and had more personality. So I switched to this random little nib thing, and it was really fun to use. It was a fun little experiment. I could not really control how much masking fluid was coming off the nib. Like you can see right here, there's big bubbles and big puddles of masking fluid. But I don't know, like something about it has a lot of character, and I enjoyed using this more. I had to dip my paintbrush a lot. Well, I can't call it a paintbrush. I had to dip my rubber nib thingy a bunch, so that was kind of annoying. You can see here in this clip how often I have to go back and forth from the masking fluid just to get like 1 or 2 lines. So I would say this did slow down my process a little bit. I think people like using paintbrushes because you can hold a lot more masking fluid in the paintbrush itself. But for me, I don't know, I had a lot of fun with this tool, and I'm looking forward to experimenting with other tools. I know that they have these things called masking pins, and it's like masking fluid is loaded up in this pin and you just draw, and I guess it gives you really good lines. I've heard a lot about them getting clogged, so people don't like them as much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying and experimenting and playing with those. This is, I would say, probably my favorite part of the process. I know there was a lot of like education in the beginning, and this is where it all pays off. Because you just get to be imaginative. I literally had no plan going into this. I'm just painting these snowflakes just randomly, whatever felt good to me. Some dots here, some lines there. They really are just decorated circles or more fancy stars. I did what you're not supposed to do, which is blow dry my masking fluid to make it dry, and it made my tape curl up and it wasn't sticking down anymore. So before you go into the next step, you're definitely going to make sure you have enough tape to stick your paper flat down, because we're going to be throwing a ton of water at our paper and it'll curl up really easily. Now I'm just going to have fun and do a wet on wet wash and let the color do its thing. I'm just doing a light wash of water, and then I'm dipping my paintbrush in my watercolor and just dropping it onto the canvas and letting it flow where it will. This is the step where you could have a lot of fun without any worries, because you already did all the hard work of masking off all your snowflakes, so you don't need to be careful about painting around the negative space. You could just do whatever you wanted. You can see I'm throwing a ton of color on my canvas here and just letting the water carry it wherever it wants, and this was really liberating and fun. During this phase, there are a couple things that you could do to just take your painting to the next level. I happen to have these little samples of purple glittery watercolor, and I just was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm gonna use these. It's gonna enhance the like snowy glittery effect. And I just kind of did the same thing that I did with the watercolor, where I just sprinkled that in and let it fall where it will. After my paint had dried a little bit, I decided to go back in and add some more darker valued paint, because I felt like it was a little flat, and it looks really good when you have like light and dark values. I feel like that also helps the eye bounce around the canvas. So don't be afraid to go back in with some more paint and add some darker values. Another really fun effect you can do that kind of gives you like a frosty effect is to add in salt. And I love experimenting with like different grains of salt. So I have some fatter, chunkier salt, and then some more coarse, fine salt. And after you lay in your water, this is the perfect time to sprinkle in that salt and just watch it do its thing. So after you lay your salt in, I would let your canvas dry naturally. I used a blow dryer. You can use a heat tool, but what I found out was that the tape kind of pulls up naturally with the heat, and with that, if your tape is connected to your masking fluid, that will also pull up. So I would just let it dry naturally if you can. Now that my canvas is completely dry, the fun part can begin. And this is the most satisfying part. I'm gonna leave in like the natural ASMR noises of me like scraping up the salt because it sounds so good. And then you can just use your finger to remove the masking tape. I know there's these things called masking erasers. This is honestly only my second time using masking fluid, and the first time was when I did the snowflake project as like a practice run. So I find you don't really need the eraser. I'm sure it serves some purpose if you're more advanced watercolorist, but I'm just having fun and experimenting and playing. So I just used my finger and pulled it up that way. And let me tell you, it was so satisfying just watching the masking fluid slowly pull up and then just seeing that nice ice blue snowflake beneath. It was delicious. It was so good. And then after you peel up your masking fluid, you can go ahead and peel up your tape. This is when it is good to use a hairdryer because, like I said before, the heat kind of warms up the adhesive and then it peels off really easily. So don't be afraid to use a little bit of heat. Make sure you're moving it around constantly, and then you can go ahead and peel your tape up and you're left with this gorgeous winter goodness snowflake piece. And that's everything. I hope you had fun painting with me. If you did, I really, really would love to see your art. Please tag me at Sam Aker Art Maker on Instagram. Let me know how you like this tutorial. Let me know how it worked out for you. I hope you have fun drawing and painting these meditative and really relaxing watercolor snowflakes. All right, have a good one. Until next time.